Alright, exciting stuff on the board here. We have the adventures round here. And looking at the board, there's a few nice things on the board. There's Artificer, there's Giant, there's Swamp Hag, there's Distant Lands. Those are all nice things. There's also Peasant, which is always a nice thing, of course. Red Catcher, Caravan Guard, Gear, whatever, whatever. Big event is Inheritance Borrow. You should keep in the back of your mind in case you do want it. Alright, so what's the plan here? What is the plan here? Right, so we both have 5-2. My opponent goes for the Peasant, which is fairly obvious on the 2. Right, you could get Ratcatcher or Coin, but you want the Peasant to upgrade into Teacher. And then you need to start thinking, what do I want to put my tokens on? Before that, actually, I was thinking about, well, I want to get to Inheritance. And what is the best way to get to Inheritance? So a couple ways you could go about it. You could get the Swamp Hag here, stick it down on your next and you get +3, right? Good chance you get to 7 and buy the Inheritance. Another way is with Giant, and Giant gives you +5 the second time around. Better chance that you get to Inheritance. So eventually I went with the Giant. It is more likely the Giant and the Peasant won't collide than they will collide, which is why I went for Giant and Peasant. If it was more likely that they would collide, I would have picked up an Artificer over the Peasant. Long term, I want a lot of Artificers in my deck. 1 is a cool card, and 2, I think it could put in a lot of work on this board. But for right now, we're just trying to get up to Inheritance, and yeah, trash, so to speak, in that way. So I get the Giant down here, which is good. The Peasant misses, which is not good. So I pick up a Ratcatcher because I will need some trashing. That is the only form outside of Miser. And I'm not going to buy a Miser. So I don't think I will buy a Miser, is what I should say more precisely. Whereas my opponent is able to upgrade their Peasant here, picking up a couple Ratcatchers along the way. So they have 3 in their deck. Decent number, especially if you anticipate having to deal with curses from Swamp Hag. And I have 2. So I picked up 2 Peasants on turn 3 and 4. Not Peasants, Ratcatchers. So now here, very interesting point for me here. Well, after I play the Ratcatcher, it'll become much more interesting because I have the opportunity to get to 7 or to upgrade that Peasant, which has already missed the shuffle. So I should really get a move on that. So what is your decision at this point? My decision was play the Giant, take the Inheritance, and now partly influenced by the Swamp Hag, And another reason for me doing it, well, it is some trashing. I can get maybe Gear. Gear is good if I could stick the plus action token down on that. I could get Ratcatcher. That would be good. I would have a lot of trash in that way. Or I could get Caravan Guard, which is what I end up choosing to put my estate token on the Caravan Guard. Why? Well, money. That's why. It could get me some money, and it also responds to these attacks, which my opponent, well, he has 1 now, and a soldier is coming. See? I'm psychic. Soldier is coming, so I was able to trigger those Caravan Guards, but there's also Giant on the board. I was expecting my opponent to try to lock me with Swamp Hag, so get at least one in play every turn. So the Caravan Guards would trigger a reasonable amount at the time and I would get money off it. That was my big deal. I needed money because I still want to get up to Artificer, buy that and be able to buy a lot of these 5-cost cards. So, I mean, Ratcatcher was certainly an option. Gear was also an option, really. But in the end, I chose the Caravan Guards for the money. It's not the greatest thing to have, well, you know, it's fine. It's fine. Never mind that. Anyways, so I get the money off the Caravan Guards here and it allows me to get up to Artificer even after trashing with the Ratcatcher. So now the Ratcatcher has only 7 targets as opposed to 10 because I've turned the estates into lovely, lovely, lovely Caravan Guards. That has come at a price, of course. The price is that my Peasant is still a peasant, whereas my opponent is up to fugitive. So I am 2 stages behind, I think, there. So that is a problem. And also we have this swamp hag to deal with right now. So before I was able to duck it because of inheritance, duck the swamp hag's attack, but here I don't see a way around it. If I borrow, well, I should probably buy something. Otherwise I would have just attacked myself for no reason. So here, again, this giant collision with the peasant. I'm going to get rid of the giant here instead of the peasant, because really I cannot delay this peasant any longer and pick up a coin of the realm at this point. So the coin of the realm will help with my terminal collision in an ever thinning deck, and I'm not going to get to teach her that fast, so I need to put some actions in my deck now to make use of everything. Even next stage up, soldier is a terminal, so I would really appreciate that source of plus action. So here the big weight is about whether or not I want to take the curse along with my Artificer. So I do pick up a second Artificer now. So like I said from the beginning, I believe the Artificer could do a lot of work, especially if I could overdraw my deck. I am planning to stick the plus card token on it, so it draws 2 cards instead of 1, and then I could discard a lot more things and do a lot of gain. And that helps with the Swamp Hag attack as well. If I just gain off Artificer, I can still have more productive turns than my opponent potentially without buying anything. So yeah, kind of defensive-ish play there, just to get around the Swamp Hag, in addition to just being very good. Gaining cards is very good, especially if you can overdraw with the Artificer. So my opponent was also able to get up to inheritance of the Swamp Hag player. I remember I mentioned that at the beginning of the game. So they went for the Swamp Hag. They got the money from the Swamp Hag to get up to inheritance, and they also chose to pick up the Caravan Guard with the inheritance. I mean, of course, you don't want to pick up your peasant, right? You would then exchange your estates and not have them in the deck, and it's an important source of points, especially near the end. So here, Disciple for my opponent, very, very far along. I was happy that he had to disciple a rat catcher there rather than a swamp hag or a giant. Very happy that he didn't get a free copy of one of those 5-course cards, instead just the rat catcher, which is probably going to sit on his mat for the rest of the game here. And 4 for my opponent, they pick up a gear, very solid buy here. Gear is, almost always useful in any game it shows up in. Yeah, it doesn't have to be adventures only for it to be very good. So here I do have the Swamp Hag issue again. Right, do I want to buy something to trigger this and take the curse alongside it? That is the question that I have to ask myself. So I do trigger this shuffle here, looking for the fugitive. That's the only reason I triggered that shuffle, to try to find the fugitive, and I did. So that's a bit lucky on my part to get to the fugitive. Now really I should be discarding something here to gain something, even if it is just an estate. But in the end I discard 3 to pick up a gear, and I am going to now play the fugitive to draw into the gear. And with the coin on the mat, right? Remember I have the coin on the mat, I can play this gear, get all the way up to the end of the shuffle. So that was the whole plan for that turn, right? I triggered a bad shuffle and I was able to clear the top of my deck with the gear. You already see Artificer putting in work. You only thought the plus card token on it. Right, so here 6 could be another Artificer, right? But I'd have to take a curse alongside it, and yeah, I don't think I'm thin enough yet to be able to take that curse, so I am going to pass this turn. Pass meaning I'm not going to buy anything this turn, and just let the money go for this turn. My opponent only has the 1 Swamp Hag, so I'm not locked. I'm not locked, right? He picked up a giant instead of a second Swamp Hag. So here comes the giant, and I get to trigger these Caravan Guards, which is very nice, very nice. And the giant kills one of my Artificers. So the giant is a bit of a nuisance, especially when it kills my artificers. I would rather it give me the curse than it kill my artificer or kill any of my good cards. Like if it had killed my disciple, oh boy, that would have been devastating. Probably auto loss at that point. But the disciple lives, and I save this artificer, so I'm able to gain another one with the disciple. Very good, very good. Thank you, disciple. Here I am gonna get another peasant. So why I want the peasant? I want a disciple is what I want the peasant for. So it's very late for me to be picking up this second peasant to go for the disciple, but I might have enough time, right? I should be able to play that traveler once a turn and get it up there in what 3 or 4 turns up to the disciple, whereas where is up to the disciple where I want it, right? That's where I want it. I want the disciple. Some endgame potential, and playing disciple on Artificer draws a lot of cards, so I could gain more things if I do that. That's my idea with getting the peasant there. And on 2 buys, I pick up an estate alongside another Artificer. So now I've committed more to the Artificer plan, right? The Swamp Heart, I can get around it easily enough. The Giant is the issue, but I don't think playing Retaliatory is going to help me here. Particularly as you would need coins to be able to play multiple giants. And then that's just a bit cumbersome, right? Then you need more of an engine, you need a lot more parts. You need coins, gears, and then a bunch of giants until you can get your teacher done. Which, by the way, my opponent has put down his teacher here. And somehow I was able to catch up. Yeah, here's my teacher as well. So I will have my teacher called as soon as he calls his, right? And it'll be interesting to see where he puts his token, because his deck is a lot different to mine. So I play a gear here, setting aside an Artificer for next turn. It loves the increased hand size, of course. And I'm able to play the other 2 terminals in my deck with the coin. That coin, brilliant. I'm very happy I picked up that coin. It allows me to play teacher and soldier here, as well as the gear, of course. And 7 with no hag in play, I think, is a very easy Artificer for me, especially given that my teacher is on the mat, and I am gonna put that plus card token on the Artificer. So my opponent goes with something different with 4 or so giants in their deck. They opt to put the plus action token on the giant. So I do anticipate getting fiercely attacked here, but I think I could deal with it just because giant really only attacks every other turn, right? So I do gain a curse there after he turns off my Coin of the Realm, which is, you know, whatever. Like I said, I'd rather the curses than he kill my Artificer. Please don't kill my Artificer, Giant. Please don't. Right? So 8 for my opponent. And I think they don't go for province quite yet. What they do go for is another Giant at this point. So they're really trying to just murder my deck at this point, right? So I still need to trash a bit so I get these rat catchers in to get rid of those coppers. I know it's not the greatest thing to do when you have artificers in hand, but if I don't trash them, I'll probably have a stall turn and just lose because of it. And here is the plus card token on the artificers, and there's the deck. So I have a couple artificers to do nice things with. This, what I did here, is kinda scratchy and not optimal, I think. I ended up discarding 5 cards here to gain a distant lands, which I don't like in retrospect. I really should have ensured that the Coin of the Realm was put down on the mat. I really should have done that instead of just freaking out here and going for points. So I wanted to gain the distant lands and put it on the mat. That is also a little bit of premeditation creeping in, right? Because when I thought of the Artificer plan, I thought I would have enough draw to just gain distant land, set it aside. But 1, I underestimated the draw from the Artificer, and 2, doing that requires an action, and I didn't have that many actions, so I can't just, you know, go through half the distant lands and put them on my mat. That is simply not realistic in any way. So I have to play within my means at this point. So I get another curse from this giant, and he kills another one of my artificers, right? So, I mean, that's a good hit for him, was also like expected. It's the most plentiful card in my deck. So he has a lot of money, but just the one buy here. He put his teacher down on this turn, so presumably he'll call it for plus buy on something. And now he goes for an artificer, right? So it does give him a bit of endgame control. But at this point, I have the lion's share of them, and they're going to draw me through a lot of my deck at this point. So the play I make here is kind of scratchy as well, but I think it works because my opponent doesn't have a nice source of plus buy. He cannot put it on his giants because there's already a token there. And the other actions he has in his deck, he doesn't really have a lot of them. Like he has one gear, so if he puts the plus buy token on gear, he'll only have one extra buy. So I can run the piles fairly thin, even with the Artificer, right? He has one extra gain, so he could probably get an estate off of it. And he doesn't want to be discarding a lot, because he wants to play 4 giants, right? That's 80% of his starting hand. They can't really discard too many cards. What other targets? It's probably Ratcatcher, but a lot of them are on his mat. So he can't get that many buys to threaten the end of the game, I believe. So I do pick up half the estates as well as a province. So I buy the province and I pick up the estates off the Artificer gains. So that's great for me, right? Artificer is really, demonstrating its strength here at the end of the game. So there's one Artificer left, a handful of Ratcatchers, and half the estates. So those are the piles you need to be aware of. His giant comes and kills my Artificer, whatever. He did put the plus buy token on the gear, so he is restricted, right? He has one extra buy now and 15 money. So double province would have been nice for him, but he opts for province and the last Artificer. So I'd have liked to be able to gain it here with the disciple, but I mean, emptying the pile for me is also good, right? Look at that. Many caravan guards. So I have no shortage of money. I'm also hurting for the plus buy here, and I rectify that immediately by calling the teacher and putting the token on the Ratcatcher, which is not usually recommended because they sit on your mat, but I have the Artificer, so I can gain them and play them on this turn. I only need them for this turn. So it'll be the card that'll give me the most buys, and I need some buys to finish out the game, I believe. I don't think I have enough Artificers or draw to be able to get all the Ratcatchers and all the estates. So here, first Artificer into Ratcatcher. I'll play the Ratcatcher, get the buy, and the deck is drawn at this point. So that is really the end of the game. Artificer Magic. I love the Artificer from the time I saw it. It's an amazing card and put in a lot of work in this game, even though I fell behind on the present line. So that was really nice. Alright, thank you for watching the Adventures game, and I'll see you in the next one. I quite enjoyed this game. Alright, see you around.